Hi everyone. So nice to meet you all. My name is Johannes Romatka. I'm the manager of curriculum instruction at Tech Foundry. I've been doing IT and IT related work for 15 years of my life. I've made a really large part of my life. I'm also especially passionate about sharing knowledge about that. I think that technology is the future, and being able to share that with people is just really helping push society as a whole as far as we can, because we're taking advantage of these amazing tools and resources that we get access to. Besides technology stuff and outside of work, just a little bit about myself. I live in Colorado. I've got an amazing girlfriend, two wonderful, happy dogs, and I like to do stuff like mountain biking and hiking in the mountains. I'll turn it over to Henry.
Thank you. My name's Henry Alston. I am also a Tech Foundry alum myself, but I also work at Tech Foundry as the Service Learning Coordinator. So we work very closely with Gina of Clemente and look to continue to expand this service to further more students and alumni and faculty and staff. A little bit about me. I am from Springfield, born and raised. I grew up, went to school, got my undergraduate degree at Lincoln University, which is an HBCU. I then went on to get my MBA out at University of Louisville, and I've decided to come back to Springfield because home is where the heart is, right? So I have a few various hobbies, so many to list and name, but I'm very active. I also love to hike. I love to enjoy nature, and I play plenty of sports and work out just to stay active. And who's next? Michelle, would you like to also?
Yeah, sure. I'll go next. Hi, everyone. So I'm Michelle Wilson. I'm the Deputy Director at Tech Foundry. And interesting fun fact, I used to work for Mass Humanities, and I did fundraising and development and raised money for Clemente Course. So this is a really cool way of sort of bridging my past and my present. And I have I worked with Gina for a couple of years, and she's wonderful, as you all know. I'm from Massachusetts originally. I lived on the West Coast for about 12 years and just moved back a few years ago with my husband and my two daughters and my rambunctious yellow lab who keeps us busy. They all keep us busy. I'm so happy you're all here.
Awesome. Hello, my name is Christo Owens. I'm not from the area. I'm originally from North Carolina. I moved here a few years ago, went to Cambridge to get my master's in mental health counseling. I'm currently working on my second master's of divinity, studying for chaplaincy. And I got involved with Clemente originally in 2019. However, that is when I had to pay more attention to my health. Along with that, I'm a teacher, fourth grade, which is okay. And that's where my children are, and I love it. So I need to really get, be able to sharpen my skills with the new technology, because indeed that is the way everything is going for sure. Outside of that, I would say what I like to do for fun. I sing in the choir. I I like to travel when I can, and that's about it. Right now, I'm trying to hunt for a pet, and I want a little pet, four-legged pet. So that's pretty exciting, along with a couple of birds. Yeah, to take up my time, like I have time. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm glad you guys are here to help us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Krista. Appreciate that. Paul, Mammy, did you want to introduce yourselves as well? We have a minute. Oh, Paul, I'm so sorry you're muted. There we go.
Thanks. That's one of the things you have to do. Yeah, I really, I'm coming to you from Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm currently working on a MacBook Pro computer. You're right, the technology is changing so fast. I originally started out with DSLR photography, and it's now today you can do major movies, feature movies on these iPhones for a bunch of attachments. But I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I've been very, very involved with the Clemente and so I just would like to get some of the basics down with like Zoom and all that stuff. That's constantly changing, and you got to figure out what system you're on. You're on a PC or a Mac or a phone or whatever. So I'm here to just sharpen those skills. So at least I know people that I have working with me and that stuff know that what the things there. I've got 18 terabytes worth of film. I've already got it with external drives and stuff drives you. It's a lot of work. You got to start with the basics and how to use this stuff. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. 18 terabytes. It's not every day that I meet someone that has more storage capacity than I keep in my own house. So that's something you can absolutely brag about.
Well, no, yeah, what to do with it is the big challenge, It's to get it down to, you got to shoot a couple of hours of footage to get, an hour's worth of viable. And I do have professional filmmakers that I can rely on. And I roasted Gina and that stuff, some of the stories that come through Clemente, and people want to tell their stories, they do it in TikTok or YouTube and all that, but I could offer, professional, because people have offered it to me.
Oh, very cool.
If they wanted to tell their stories through media.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate that insight.
Where do you live in Colorado?
About an hour north of Denver, a town called Greeley. Love it here.
Yeah, I know it. I lived in Vail for about 10 years.
Oh, Vail's beautiful. Nice. Yeah. All right. And then I did notice we had, I hope I'm saying this right, Mamie Jackson, who joined us as well. And if you'd like an opportunity to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome to. Totally up to you, though. It's not mandatory. Feels like maybe not. That's okay. Pam, did you want a second to do that?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Gina's version in Holyoke. I do the same, directing of the Holyoke Clemente, and we had quite a busy day today in our Holyoke Clemente class, and a lot of students were going to a rally at the Holyoke City Hall just before this. So I think coming to this workshop is a hard thing for my Clemente students right now. But I want to say that they were all like, that's what we needed at the beginning of the year. And they were all so excited about the handbook. And I really think that, even if it's just a recording version of what you're doing tonight, being able to replay that in September for the new cohort would be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully we'll be able to do it live and answer questions as well. That's the
goal. That would be
that's our goal.
Yeah, no, it's really great. Thank you, guys, for being up for this.
Of course. Well, it's so nice to get to know a little bit about everyone. Really cool to hear about like all of these diverse interests. And also, I just want to say, like, if people were going to miss this course, if it's for something as active as going out and joining protests and having an impact on your community, that's worth it. That's good. That's great stuff.
It was a very impressive day.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the content and start talking a little bit about some technology concepts then. Like you can see here on the shared screen, welcome to the Clemente Course students as well as others. So happy to have you here today. A little bit of background on who we are and kind of what we do. We're from Tech Foundry, based in Springfield, Massachusetts. Our goal has always been to support the region's growing need for qualified technology workforce and to elevate underrepresented and diverse groups into a sustainable career in IT. And we're really excited to be working with the Clemente program. And I think that we have a lot of shared interests and things that we both want to achieve and can help each other achieve. So this is just so exciting. We've been around since 2014. So this next year, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, which is so exciting. We've trained over 400 students in so many different aspects of technology. So it's really exciting to be here today, to be able to talk technology and look at it from a slightly different version than people heading into IT careers, because there's all sorts of different ways to see IT. So what are we going to be learning about today? Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to be looking at the basics of our Chromebook laptops. Chromebooks are a little bit different than our normal laptops. There's some key differences between that and, say, a MacBook or a Windows laptop or a Windows PC, and it's important to know where those differences are so that we can really account for those as we're using them. Also, we're going to be talking about a lot of different Google services like Google Docs and Google Drive, which is an amazing file sharing service. Things like this are definitely becoming so much more commonplace in the workplace. An ability to just really quickly pick up and use these Google Drives and Google Docs and be able to share and collaborate and pick up these online resources is going to be absolutely invaluable. Huge benefit and a huge skill set to have. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Zoom. Obviously, everyone here knows a little bit about Zoom. You've been able to join us, but there's a lot about Zoom that we don't really always know, and it's a great thing to be able to learn a little more about what can Zoom do for us, what are all the different features in there, and how do we deal with those weird audio and video glitches that inevitably every Zoom user has seen. It does happen, but luckily there's troubleshooting for that. Finally, we are going to do a general question and answer because, no instruction is good enough to not have any questions. In fact, in my opinion, the best instruction happens when there's lots of questions. So that's going to be heavily encouraged. So tonight, I'm going to be your technical teacher throughout the workshop. I'm going to be walking you through the content, supporting you and enhancing skills and everything that we're doing tonight. And we also did want to show off a little bit. This is our amazing Tech Foundry team, some of our previous alums. We are just so proud of the work that we do in Springfield. We have to include a little bit of this. We're going to be holding IT help desk hours as well. We are not just doing, here's information, it's good. Information is always good, but sometimes you have questions outside of the presentation as well. So this Thursday from 6 until 7 p.m., we're going to be holding our first help desk hours. And then beyond that, we're going to be doing every Monday and Wednesday from 6 until 7 help desk hours that are available just by contacting the IT help desk number listed right below. We will absolutely share this number at the end of the presentation as well, just to make sure everyone's able to make note of that. But I know for a fact that the peace of mind that you have when you know that I can call a phone number and talk to someone that wants to help me and not some hostile person on tech support on the other end of the Comcast line, it helps a lot. Okay, so give me just a moment as we switch presentations over to our technology presentation. There we go. And as I'm pulling this up as well, I just want to reiterate that questions. One of the most important things, I love questions. I won't feel interrupted by questions during the presentation even. And I just want to encourage people that if you have them, you can either post in chat and I will see those. You can also raise your hand on video and I'm happy to answer questions like that as well. And let's get this pulled up. Welcome to Chromebook orientation. By now, some of you may have already looked in the packet that we sent out with all the instructions on everything that we're going to be going over today. We're going to be using this some time to review the contents in that packet so that we're more comfortable following the written instructions. It can be a little intimidating sometimes having written instructions if we haven't been through the process before. So today, we're going to be using this time to see the process in action, maybe even try the process live on call and able to ask questions about why is this happening that way. It's going to make us a little bit more comfortable, a little more ready to take on all these new technologies. So,
excuse me, Johannes.
Yes, Christo.
Do you have any more of those packets?
Those
Okay,
packets were
mhm.
sent out electronically. We can absolutely make sure that you receive a copy of those. If you wouldn't mind, if you could put your email address in the chat, we'll make sure to forward that to you.
Great.
Henry, if you could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, like I was talking about before, here's a brief agenda of everything that we're going to be going over, some Chromebook basics, setting up a Gmail account, accessing and using Google Drive, all that fun stuff. We're going to be looking at some tips for organizing Google Drive, how to share documents, collaborate with people, downloading files in specific formats, because a lot of times people are asking for, oh, I want a Word document or a PDF. Oh, well, now we have that option. We can do that. And of course, we're going to be talking about some Zoom basics, some functionality, and some troubleshooting tips to make sure that we're always getting the most out of Zoom when we're using it. Again, to reiterate, I love questions. I usually stress this point because I know a lot of people are maybe a little bit more hesitant to ask questions. Sometimes as I'm going through my class, I see curiosity, but not willingness. I want to encourage that. Questions are a great thing. Questions help out a ton. And if we can get those questions, it's only going to help the rest of the class as well, because they were probably wondering something similar. All right. Now, let's go ahead and jump in, talk about some basics on the Chromebook. The Chromebook, when you sign in, you will need a Google account. At this point, having a Google account is relatively accessible. They're free. You can go online, go to gmail.com, create an account. We're going to talk about that as well, but just know that to get into the Chromebook overall, we do need to have a Gmail account so that we can sign in. When we sign in, we're going to see this screen right here. Won't always have that same background picture, but you will see similarities with, we have our quick access down at the bottom, all of the programs that we commonly use, as well as this little dot here on the right. And that's the icon that we can open up to get to our apps, to look at all the different things that we can run on our Chromebook, all the different applications and programs. The app drawer, the little circle right down here, is an especially important piece of the Chromebook, because we can increase the functionality just by adding apps that are specifically useful for what we're going to use them for. Chromebooks can run Android apps as well, and there's a ton of Android phones out there in the world. There's a lot of different applications that are being run and used, and if we can install those apps, well, that's just really, really helpful. Oh, and Henry, thank you so much for posting that handbook in the chat. Anyone that would like a copy of the handbook that goes over everything that we're going over in our PowerPoint presentation today, if you go into the chat, you can click on that and download an electronic copy that will have text-based instructions that are covering most of the things that I'm talking about today as well. So this screen right here, these are the apps that we have installed on our Chromebook. We can expand our functionality. We can add new apps. We can use them, and we can add them to the launcher. This is really, really helpful. Paul, did you have a question? No? Oh, it looked like you had a question. My apologies. All right. The Chromebook is also something that can be customized. There are various settings that we may want to adjust. When we want to access the settings for our Chromebook, we can come right down here into the lower right-hand corner of the screen, where we have kind of the Wi-Fi icon, the battery icon, and the time. We can click on that to open this up, and then we can click on the settings icon right in here. The settings is where we can adjust all sorts of things like display settings, how large the text is, how visible things are. We can adjust network settings. We can even adjust user accounts if we want to have multiple different people using the same Chromebook and have their own individual accounts to keep everything nice and easy to use and separate. One of the things that you'll see right here, we've got a little icon that looks like a little manila folder with a blue background. That is our file manager. On Chromebooks, file management is especially important because when we're managing files, it's different these days, right? We've all heard about the cloud. A lot of us have used the cloud, and in some cases we're confused by the cloud because what is the cloud? It's never really explained fully. It seems a little amorphous. And the good news is Google has kind of brought all of that together. Our file manager right here is accessible. Oh, there we go. It's accessible by clicking that little icon that I showed off in the last slide. In here, we can navigate, look at our files, and even access our Google Drive. We're talking more about the Google Drive later, but right now, just know that this is a one-stop shop to find all of our files, cloud-based or local, and that makes finding things just a little bit easier. So it's a wonderful, wonderful tool to know how to use. Also, keyboard shortcuts are always a fun thing. I think that they increase productivity, enhance how we're able to interact with our computers a lot. Using Control+M on your Chromebook will open the file manager directly so that you can access your files even faster. I always like to recommend practicing those keyboard shortcuts at least a couple of times as you learn about them, because that helps us really solidify that mental muscle memory that makes it even easier to recall and repeat that action in the future and make ourselves more efficient as we use this technology and use these computers. Now, let's talk really quick about the Chromebook keyboard. I get a lot of questions about Chromebook keyboards because they're a little bit different than your average keyboard. In fact, we can point out here, if you notice, like look from the escape key and look down where we normally have the caps lock key. Instead, we've got this little circle icon instead. That's our search button on a Chromebook, the search key. It's really useful. We can use that to pull up our search and find whatever files, apps, or programs that we're trying to use on our computer. And we still have functionality to use caps lock if we need to. We can press Alt plus the search button, so this Alt key in conjunction with the search key, and that will turn on caps lock for us. Once we're done doing that, we can use the exact same key combo to turn that off. Alt plus the search key, and now we no longer have caps on. So we still have that functionality, but luckily I think that we're in a time on the internet where most people are communicating in lowercase and we're not all shouting at each other in all caps uppercase all the time anymore. All right, now I had mentioned earlier needing a Gmail account. If you need a Gmail account, it's easy to get. At this point, I'm pretty sure that most people in this call already have a Gmail account or already set up. The goal with the Clemente program and this course in particular is to be able to offer this at the beginning of the course and really increase tech literacy as well. At this point, I think everyone's had the chance to play around with their Chromebooks a little bit, learn the basic functionality. So a lot of what we're talking about may be things that you've already done or were already familiar with, and that's okay. We're going to be going over that just so that we have that on the recording as well. And there might be people that are finding value out of this, and I want to make sure we go over it for them. So if we need a Gmail account, we can go to gmail.com in our browser, click the Create Account button, nice friendly blue button, and then it's really just following the prompts, entering the required information, choosing a username. There's a lot of people out there signing up for Gmail accounts, so it may be that your username was already taken. The good news is Google will offer you suggestions and say that username isn't available, but what if we did this one instead? And they'll offer you something similar, not exactly the same, so that you will have a unique username. It's also important to set a nice secure password. I personally recommend using at least 8 characters in your password. It's always a good idea to have a mix of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters in there as well. I know that makes those passwords a little bit complex, but the more complex your password is, the less likely it is that someone that you don't want getting into your account is going to be able to get that access. So it's a complexity that is worth it. 100%. Just make sure that we make a nice note of that password so it's something that we can remember or it's stored somewhere secure. Secure being the operative word. We don't want to just tape a password note with the password on it to the monitor. But if it's stored somewhere secure for lookup, that's nice to have as a reference point. Finally, and this part is optional, if you want to, you can set up a phone number and an alternate email with your Gmail account as recovery options. That's in case you forget the password. Now you can use that for recovery or for two-factor authentication, which makes your account even more secure. That is optional. So if you'd like to do that, it's recommended. If you don't want to share your other email or your phone number with Google, you don't have to. It's not mandatory. Finally, once you're done with all those steps, you will review and agree to the terms of service for Google, and then you will have your brand new Google account. Once you have your Google account, well, that's when the fun begins. That's when we have access to Google Drive. Now, I want to pause really quick right here, actually. Are there any questions about anything that we've gone over so far? I just want to make sure that we're not like moving too quickly and leaving some things in the dust. We're about to start talking about Google Docs. are there any questions that we have about Chromebook functionality or about Google accounts in general? Paul, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, like I said, I'm working on this MacBook Pro here, and people, the Clemente, they've offered me a MacBook. I mean, a Chromebook. Would it be? And I didn't want to take one because I didn't want to, because I do have other technology.
Mhm.
But would it be advisable to get a Chromebook and use it?
I would say that especially for your particular use case, as you're doing, I'm assuming film editing and things like that on your MacBook, the Chromebooks aren't going to have as much power as a MacBook might have, and it wouldn't be the exact right solution for your particular use case. That being said, all the things that we're about to talk about in terms of using Google Docs and Google Drive is something that is 100% accessible from a MacBook and will be very, very helpful for collaborating and working with people on filmmaking. So we will absolutely have some nice, valuable information for you.
Good. All right, that's what I thought. But I've got a MacBook. I got one of those tablets I don't even use. I got phones and all that stuff, but I didn't want to take one of the Chromebooks. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, using a Mac or using a PC, they got to figure out which machine they're on, or go onto Google and figure out what they have to do with it. That's it. All right, thank you. That's enough.
Yeah, happy to answer that question. And Krista, I see you have your hand up as well.
You're muted.
Thank you, Pam.
When you make your Gmail account, and you say you made a Gmail account already, you have your original Gmail account and now you made another one.
Mhm.
Where is that stored? Or does it automatically come up?
The information about your account is something that's generally stored over on Google servers because they keep logs of everything and they need to know who's able to log in with what account and everything. In terms of it being stored on your own computer, it'll depend a little bit on which browsers you've been using. Some browsers, especially on the Chromebook like Chrome and Chrome OS, will save passwords and usernames as you sign in and will generally try to autofill that for you. So hopefully that information is showing up in fields in your browser as you're using it. Do keep in mind that the autocomplete, that's what they call it when it's filling out forms for you, is generally saved locally onto a device. So if you have autocomplete working on your Chromebook and you switch to a different computer, it won't be able to fill out the same information for you. That's always important to remember.
Okay. Okay. And my next question is, all right, with Google Docs, how do I put this? Again, I'm so used to having Word. So with using the Chromebook, what software are we using in terms of creating documents? Is that Google Docs?
It is
what?
Google Docs, and that is a great segue into our next section as we start to talk about Google Drive and Google Docs and how it can be helpful. One thing that I want to point out that's really cool as technology has advanced, I think a lot of us are used to this idea of, yeah, we run our programs, we open up Word on our computer, it opens up. Technology has advanced to the point where a lot of these programs don't actually need to be full programs anymore. And in some cases are a website that we visit that has all the functionality of the program within our browser. So we're going to be talking about that at length as we continue to explore Google Drive. I love that question. That's such a great segue.
Thanks.
All right, let's go ahead and we're going to jump back into the screen share here. Let's keep talking a little bit now about Google Drive, a cloud-based resource for file sharing, file creation, and file storage. Super, super valuable to have access to this these days. We'll start off with the basics and talk about how we access it. Accessing Google Drive is as simple as going to drive.google.com. No www needed, no spaces needed, just drive.google.com. When we go there, it will ask you to log in, and we'll log in with our Google account right there. If you don't have one, luckily we have the instructions on how to create those in our packet as well as in this video to review. Once you're logged in, you're going to see the main Google Drive interface, and that's going to show you all your files and folders. We can use folders to organize on Google, and we'll talk about that in a bit too. If you want to access your files on another device, besides the computer that you're using or the Chromebook that you're using, all you need to do is log into your Google account and go to the Google Drive website or open the Google Drive mobile app. On cell phones, like on iPhones or Android phones, there's a Google Drive app that we can install that gives us direct access. We just need to be signed into the right account. One of the really cool things about these modern computers and cloud computing too is these become almost universally accessible. Once you start saving all of your files onto the cloud, that means that as long as you have internet access, you have access to your files, you have access to your account, all you need to do is sign in with your Gmail account and password, and it's going to show up in Drive right away for you. Now, you'll notice I have a little note down here at the bottom of the screen. This is important. If you're using a shared computer, you should always log out of your Google account after using Google Drive. Because if you don't log out, other people using that computer will now have access to your files and everything on that Gmail account. So it's really important to protect your privacy. Sign out of your Google account if you're using a shared computer that other people use as well. Obviously, if it's your own computer and you have a password to sign in, that's pretty secure and you're totally fine to stay signed in as well. So let's take a look at what Google Drive looks like here. This is an example of Drive over here on the right. Google Drive is absolutely fantastic. This one right here is an example of what it looks like when we're first starting off. And oh, there we go. When we're first starting out, there's nothing in there. We don't have any folders, any document. It's time for us to start adding documents or creating documents within Google Drive to have saved there. Once we have it open on our computer or on our mobile device, because it'll work on either one, we can go and we can use this nice friendly new button with that Google colored plus button to open up a menu and talk about what we want to do. Once we click on that, we can choose what we want to do from the dropdown. We have options to create something in Google Docs, which is Google's version of Word. We can create something in Google Sheets, which is Google's version of Excel. We can do Google Slides, which is like PowerPoint, which is what we're using right now. How fun is that? We can even go for a folder or upload file. A folder is going to be great. Oh, and we have a participant jumping in. Let's go ahead and get them in as well. So great to have someone. There we go. Folders or organizational tools. Our main focus today is going to be upload file. At this point, I think many of us have a lot of electronic documents that we've been collecting over the course of the internet because we've worked on one here or there. It's nice to have everything in one place. If we select upload file, we can take all of our old documents, including Word documents, and upload them into Google Drive, and Google Drive is going to make those accessible, editable, and cloud-based so that they're accessible from any location that we sign into our account from. Very, very valuable. We select Google Docs, Google Sheets, or Google Slides, we open up a new document in our browser. It opens up a new tab, and then we can immediately start working on the document, which is automatically saving into our Google Drive for us. I love the automation because it makes everything so much easier for us. Also, I see that we have a new viewer. Hi, Rodney. So great to have you here. We also have a recording if there's anything that you'd like to review after this. And because I don't think you got the chance to hear me saying this before, if you have any questions while I'm going through this, I want to just make sure I'm encouraging a lot of questions. Feel free to raise your hand in Zoom or put a question in the chat, and I'm happy to address it. It's not an interruption. Questions help drive all sorts of learning forward, so feel free to ask as many as you'd like. Happy to have you here. Okay. So we can create documents in Google Drive through Google Sheets, Google Docs, or Google Slides. We can make a folder. We can make a folder and have better organization so that we know exactly where specific types of files are stored. We can even upload our own files so that we now have old documents available, ready to edit in this new system, and especially available in the cloud, meaning that we can get there from any device that has an internet connection. Really, really good stuff. Once you've uploaded some documents, or if you have some files that you've created and you're coming back to, we can continue editing them. This right here looks a lot like Microsoft Word, but this is actually Google Docs. It's an online word editor that we can use to be able to create, modify, and otherwise adjust whatever we want in a Word type document with text, pictures, symbols, illustrations, whatever we want to add. Once we open Google Drive, all we have to do is find the document that we want to work on, double click on it, and it will open that in a new tab so that we can open the editor exactly like we see on our screen right here. There are toolbars at the top that allow us to make changes to things like, do we want the text on the left? Do we want it on the right? Do we want that text centered? What size font do we want to use? What font do we want to use overall, right? There's a lot of really good fonts out there. And if we find the right one, that can really help us convey our point that we're trying to get across in our documents. One of the cool things that we can do is we can create formatting. We can insert images, create tables. Creating tables is really powerful too as organization within our actual document itself. And the cool thing is, as we're going through this, we're going to be giving examples of how this works. Make a note of if there's anything you have questions about. We can do a live demonstration right here on my computer where I show off a lot of the functionality that we're specifically wondering about once we've gone through and talked about the basic functionality as well. Really powerful function within these online editors is the undo function. There's a little edit button in the file menu on the top there. We can click edit and then select the undo option and go back in action. Has it ever happened when using Word or any like text editor on a computer, you try to put an image on there and suddenly the text has decided that it's going to dance halfway up the page, halfway down the page and flip itself around? And how on earth did that happen? It's not a big deal anymore. With undo, we can say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Click edit, click undo, and it undoes that for us automatically, takes us back a step, and then we can try it again a slightly different way to get the result we were looking for. Really, really powerful. Among those options with undo is also a redo option. So if we undo something and then realize, actually, I did like it that way, we can just redo that action from the edit menu and continue working on the document exactly like we want to. We also have this nice blue button right up here at the top. This is a share button within our documents. Because these documents are cloud-based and accessible from anywhere with internet access, that opens up the ability to collaborate with anyone in the world that has internet access as well. We're going to talk about sharing these documents a little bit on the next slide, but just know that this share link inside a document here is really powerful because you can work on a document at the same time as someone else and see the changes they make in real time. It is full collaboration. And especially these days when everyone's working remote jobs and we're doing virtual meetings, being able to collaborate like that is a huge asset, very valuable. All right, now, sharing your documents. This is something that you probably will want to do. Most people don't just create the documents, let them sit there. It's usually wanted to be shared with someone, sent somewhere, used for something, right? If we want to share a document, all we need to do is open that document in Google Docs or Google Sheets or Google Slides, whichever one we're using. And then we can click the blue share button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Once we do that, we get this nice little pop-up right here, share with people and groups. In here, we're able to choose who we want to share it with. We can invite them via email address, or if we already have them as one of our contacts in our Google account, we can just type in their name to automatically add them. We can change the level of access that they're going to have, the little drop down right here. We can choose between viewer, commenter, and editor for the access as we're sharing those links. And that's important, right? Because in some cases, we want to share a document with someone, but we don't want changes made to that document. We spent a lot of time working on it, making it look just right. And if that's the case, we want to use viewer. That way they get to look at it, but no changes. Commenter is a little bit like viewer, except they're able to add comments on the document and leave feedback, but not make actual changes. So you'll see the comments, but the document still remains your own. And then finally, editor access means that they are able to fully edit the document and make changes in there, which if you're collaborating with someone is exactly what we want. Christo, I see you've got your hand up. Did you have a question? Oh, I'm so sorry. You're muted.
I don't know if this is relevant or not, but something just clicked when you said about sharing and sharing with our contacts. And what I'm getting at is, does that include your contacts with regards to when it comes to your mobile contacts, or is it just email contacts?
It's mainly going to be email contacts. In some cases, if you have an Android phone, at some point, Gmail may have asked, like, can I have access to your address book? And it will import your address book into your email address book as well.
Yeah.
If you do that, yeah, wonderful, that's there. Do keep in mind, though, that this is specifically working through email communication. It won't be able to do this with phone number contacts that you have. That being said, there are other ways to share that we're going to be talking about in the next slide, that you can create a link that you can share via a text message. So if you do want to collaborate with someone who you have their phone number but not their email, it's still possible to do.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. And Paul, you got your hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks. Like I said, I'm on this MacBook Pro. I'm talking to you now through a Zoom. I scroll over and I opened up my Gmail account here with all the docs, start a new document. I got all the templates there, and I got tons of documents that I don't even look at half the time. My question is, I don't see the, see if I scroll over these things, the phone, these things, screen gets big. I don't have a mouse. Where is the share button? If I'm not actually sharing on, I'm opening Google Docs. I don't see the blue button there if I wanted to share a document.
So if you open Google Drive originally, you're looking at a collection of documents. You'll want to actually open a document by double clicking it, having it open in a new window. And in that new window in the upper right-hand corner, now you should see that blue share button. You can give that a shot right now.
All right, thanks. I'll do that. Oh, I see it now. That's good. Thank you. And so my other question is this: you said that when you open this drive, you can work simultaneously with the people while if I'm opening a doc and they're connected and I'm connected, we can work on the same document simultaneously.
Yes, you can.
All right. So could we Zoom with that too? Could we be on Zoom like we're on with you now? If I went into and
yes.
All right. Okay.
It's really cool. The first time I saw it, it actually felt a little bit like magic to sit down, look at the screen, open this document, and see someone else typing into the document and filling it with content. It's really magical. It's really something special.
Okay, good. Thank you. You're probably going to explain that, but I just wanted to, try this out. Because some people have asked me, oh, you want to Zoom and Google Doc at the same time? And I goes, okay, but sometimes there's connection problems, whatever. So, but that's incredible that you can do that. I mean, even talking right now is incredible. You being in Colorado, and I'm all for it.
Technology's amazing, right? It's so cool. And Pam, I noticed you had your hand up as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I wonder, I always have problems sharing documents at the Care Center in Holyoke, where our Clemente course is. And I wonder, is there some kind of like firewall or something between like Google Gmail system and then like Microsoft Word, OneDrive, Office? Because I share with people who have carecenter.org addresses, and I get a message that says, are you sure you want to share with people outside of your organization? Because I'm sharing from my little Holyoke Clemente at gmail.com address. And then they, and I say yes, and then they don't receive it. Is there like built-in conflict or something between those two systems?
It's not so much a conflict as they kind of stand separately. OneDrive is Microsoft's version of Google Drive. They're both cloud services, but they don't really interact with each other so much. That being said, if you're generating links and sharing content like that, it should still allow you. It is normal for it to give you a warning if you're sending it to someone outside of your organization, if you're using a business email, just because they want to let you know that. That's a good way to also reduce phishing attempts and online security, things like that. Honestly, my recommendation would be, there's a lot of things that could cause that. Give our phone number for tech support a call on Thursday, right? We're here to help out. We'd love to help with that.
Sounds great.
All right. Awesome. So obviously sharing documents is really important. It's nice when you can share your documents with someone whose email you already have, but we talked about that situation where what if we have contacts that only have a phone number? That's where creating a shareable link becomes really, really valuable, because a link is access to a web page, and this web page happens to be the document that we're sharing. What we can do is open the document that we want to share in Google Docs. We're going to click that blue share button just like we did before, but now in the link sharing section of the top of the window, we're going to click turn link sharing on. We need to specifically turn this on because by default, Google says, oh, you can share this with specific people. But what if I want to share this with people who maybe I don't know? I want to use the Clemente program as an example right here. We have our handbook. If I want to share that with everyone in the program, I don't have the emails of everyone in the program yet, but I can create a link and I can forward that link to Pam or Gina, and they're able to share it with everyone because that link grants whoever has the link access. So once we go to link sharing and turn link sharing on, we can use this drop down here. And again, we can change the level of access that that link will provide. And that's important, right? We don't want to be able to create a link that just any random person on the internet could click on and start making changes to our document. If we just want it viewable, we choose viewer. If we want feedback, but no changes besides the one we make, commenter is perfect. And finally, for full online collaboration, editor is absolutely the one that we want to choose. That being said, typically when doing editing, I'd recommend doing sharing directly with the person. If you're creating a shareable link and you choose editor access, all it takes is one person sharing that link with the wrong place. And now a lot of people will have access to that document with the ability to make changes. So I'd be a little bit careful about that one when creating a link. So links are a great option, really great option in the right situation. Now, I did want to double check really quick. Rodney, it looks like you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yes. What I wanted to ask was, like, would this be integral? Because I'm a science fiction writer and I write graphic novels, and I'm working on a collaboration. And from what I'm gathering, looking at this right now, because we're really old school when it comes down to writing my stuff, I'm collaborating with somebody else. So this could be would this be very integral in collaborating with someone else, like while we're editing a book that we're all working on together, like 2 or 3 people? Would this be good for that?
Oh, 100%, because this way it's not like, okay, well, why don't you make the changes you want to make and then email me the new copy and then I'll forward it to the other guy too. And that becomes complicated, right? Because now we've got multiple revisions and versions and it's all in different places and we're tracking down emails. This way, with the collaboration and a shareable link, everyone gets to see immediate changes. You can give immediate feedback on, oh, I like this, but let's maybe change this a little bit. The only thing, because you mentioned graphic novels, that I would think would maybe not be an exact right fit here is that it is mainly text-based editing through Google Sheets. And if you're doing illustrations and things like that, that can be a little bit more difficult to bring into the system, but still possible. And I would absolutely encourage, if you do want to do collaboration with people, especially across great physical distance, doing it through an online service like this, especially in conjunction with a Zoom account like Paul was mentioning, doing a quick Zoom call and working on Google Docs together, that's basically as good as being in the same room working together, but without the commute. How wonderful is that?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Paul, looks like you have another question.
Yeah, so on that vein there, you have like a PDF document or working on, I have a website on WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
I know without putting if we share it on the coding and that stuff, or putting it in a template, is that doable on the Zoom or on the sharing documents?
Could you repeat the question one more time? I'm not sure I quite got it.
I have a website, in WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
Could we simultaneously work on, having the access to the the site itself, can we put stuff in there, without, if we have the coding that we need to put in there to share the document?
Gotcha. Not actively together at the same time. WordPress is its own separate system aside from Google Docs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That being said, you could open WordPress on your computer and share your screen through Zoom, and then they would be able to see everything you're looking at the same time. They wouldn't be able to do any direct edits to it, but they can give you feedback right away about what's going on WordPress and what kind of changes you might want to see. So that can still be valuable. Okay,
that's what because I have the account, but I don't have time to have the guy put content in there. And, I gotta wait till we download it. I want to see it simultaneously and say, no, don't put that in there. I want this, if we could.
I'd say talk about collaborating over Zoom. Screen share is a powerful tool.
Good. All right. They accept all. Another question would be like, I put in an application last night to Mass Humanities for one of their grant applications. So that's they have a separate form for that. Any of these that Candid or some of these grant applications use a standard form. We'll be able to do that on Zoom too.
When it comes to uploading grant information, that's probably going to depend on the website and the forms that you're filling out. So I don't know if I can answer that specifically, because it would vary from website to website.
All right, I'll figure it out. Thank you very much. This has been extremely helpful.
Of course, and I hasten to point out, we have a tech support number. If you have questions about this and you want to call for a little bit of tech support and advice, we have that available.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you very much. This has been incredible.
Awesome. Now, we've been talking about collaborating and sharing a link and making it editable. What happens if the wrong person gets the link and decides to go in and delete our entire document? Is that bad news? Does that mean, oh no, we just lost all our work? Good news is, no. Google Drive and Google Docs have something called revision history. And it's a really powerful feature that lets us take a look at the changes made to a document over time and going back to those changes. That's really good for collaboration. And it's also really good for kind of like a disaster recovery situation, like if someone accidentally deletes the entire contents of the document. When you're in a document, just like we can see here in this screen, we can click on the File button up at the top, and then go down to the See Revision History option right here. It's going to open up a pane on the right-hand side of the window that's going to show us all the changes and when they've been made to the documents, and then we can select one with a specific time and date and say, restore this version, and then it takes us back to that version, meaning that if we need to get back to an older version or undo some changes, we don't need to spend the whole time editing, re-editing, unediting, and doing all that. We can just go into the revision history, choose the one that's appropriate, and it automatically is right back where it needs to be. Now, I want to talk a little bit about organization because, I don't know about everyone else, but I could always use a little bit more organization when it comes to my electronic files in life. Some tips for organization on Google Drive specifically. Use folders. If you wanted to, in theory, you could put all your files in one place on Google Drive. And in the beginning, that's going to work great because there's the file. But after you've been using Google Drive for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I've been using it for over 10 years. There's so many files there that it's no longer reasonable to find the one file of the 278 that you've got floating around on Google Drive. If we create folders, we can group related projects and documents together and have a logical organization that makes sense to us to be able to find our documents better. All we need to do is click the New button up in the top left corner of the screen, and then instead of selecting a new document or to upload a file, we would just select Folder from that drop-down menu. Name that folder anything that we want, and then it's as easy as dragging and dropping the files into that folder to help organize everything exactly like we need. We also recommend using subfolders. That's folders within folders. Sometimes as a folder gets large enough, it makes sense to kind of organize a little bit inside a folder as well. I personally really, really like to look at the dates of when I've worked on things. And if it's been more than a year since I've worked on something, I have a subfolder in almost all of my Google folders that's just called Archive. And it has each year, 2001, 2002, 2013, 2020, and I put all my documents from that time period into those folders so I can go back and say, oh, I've last worked on that in 2013. I know where to find it. Subfolders are a great organizational tool. To create a subfolder, all you have to do is right-click an existing folder and then select subfolder and give it a name. Very easy. We can also use color-coded labels. You'll notice right here, if you right-click on a folder, we have all sorts of different options, including change color. A visual cue like that helps a ton with organization. This one surprised me. I'm not a particular, I'm not artistic. I'm not good at drawing or painting or anything like that. I don't understand color theory. I'm a tech guy. I know that. I'm comfortable with that. So imagine my surprise when I started using color coding for different types of files and different documents. And that visual indicator just immediately helped me start making associations between files and file types and what I was working on. Using a color coding system, especially one that you design for yourself, because you know what you associate certain colors with, right? Taxes are red, obviously, because they're scary, right? But the color coding system is something that really helps out. It really does make a difference. And I was taken aback once I started using it, just how useful I found it. Finally, using the search function in Google Docs, it's robust. Google started as a search engine, right? We remember google.com, we use google.com. It works internally for our files as well. All we need to do is go to the search bar at the top of the screen, and we can search by name, keywords, we can search by contents within the actual files themselves. Google scans all of that and returns relevant matches to us, making it much easier to find the documents that we're working on. Okay, so now we've got a place to store our documents. We have ways to edit them, share them, go back in revision history. Well, what if we need to get them locally on our computer? What if they don't need to be on the cloud, or we need to upload a copy of it to a different website? Like, for instance, a resume, right? A lot of websites these days, as you're applying online, want you to upload your resume. How do you upload from the cloud? Well, we download it first, and then we upload off our device. Downloading a file on Google, relatively straightforward. All we need to do is open the document that we want to download, click on File up at the top of the menu right here, and go to the download section right here. When we open up the download window, it's going to give us a multiple different option to choose what kind of file format we want, right? Because there's a bunch of different ways to have text documents. We can have a Word document, we can have just a text document, we can have a PDF, right? PDFs are really popular. And in a lot of cases, especially resumes, like the example we had before, the website is going to be specific. Those employers say, oh, please upload your resume in a PDF format. Well, we want to make sure we give the potential employer exactly what they're looking for, right? Making sure that we choose the right download from here, and just from the option selecting the right one, we'll get a download, it'll save onto our computer, and then we can upload it from our downloads folder to whatever website we want to share it to. Or maybe we're not sharing it to a website. Maybe we're transferring it onto a USB drive to share with someone else that we're working with like that. Any reason that you might have to download a file, this is how we can do it. It's also worth noting, because I love my keyboard shortcuts, I think they're always so great. If you want to, on a Windows computer, you can do Control-S to save the document, or Command-S on a Mac to save the copy of the Google Doc to your computer. That will do it automatically in the Google document format. So just be aware that if you want a format like Word or PDF, which you can get through the download menu in this picture here, you want to go through the menu itself. Okay, now, I know that we've been talking about a bunch of stuff here. There's been a whole bunch of different technology concepts and some fun stuff, and there've been some really great questions. I appreciate that. We're about to jump into talking about Zoom for a bit, but I wanted to stop and see if there were any other questions that we had about Google Drive, Google Docs, or their overall usage. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, so those PDFs, is that an Adobe product?
PDF it's a file type designed originally by Adobe. It used to be that you had to have Adobe to create a PDF. Luckily, that format has become a little bit more accessible. So if you need a PDF, you can download it as a PDF directly from Google Docs.
All right, Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Want to make sure we give everyone the opportunity if they want. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Zoom, right? Obviously, we know Zoom. We're all experts here. We're here in a meeting, we're talking, we turned on our video, we've got our audio connected. Zoom is a great tool. Let's get that screen shared again. Another function in Zoom, that screen share, just fantastic. So there we go. Zoom is a cloud-based video conferencing service that you can use to meet virtually with others. Really wonderful, exactly like we're doing right now. This kind of collaboration, I mean, a decade ago, well, wouldn't really make sense, right? I love the fact that I can sit here in Colorado talking to people in Massachusetts and going over these tech concepts, because it's brought us all closer. We have this virtual closeness that the internet has brought us, and that's really something amazing. Now, is Zoom always perfect? No. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to work with some of its quirks and oddities too, but for the most part, it's way more useful than it is frustrating. So we want to really make sure we know how to use it. Now, we have some instructions here because this is part of the handbook on how to set up a free Zoom account. At this point, if we're talking, you have a free Zoom account. That already exists. If you're past this step, you've already done this. Congratulations. This is, oh, and we have an extra little bit down there that we don't need. This is here, and will be useful in future iterations of this, as people are just joining the program might not know what Zoom is, but right now I think that we all know what Zoom is. But maybe we've had some audio issues with it, right? Maybe we've had some issues with getting the sound to come through or the video to work properly. These troubleshooting steps are also included in the file packet that we sent out to everyone. This is something that might be nice to keep at hand, something just as a quick reference to go through and do a little bit of troubleshooting if you are having any Zoom issues. Check your audio settings in Zoom. Your audio settings, if we click on the little microphone, and I can give some examples of that as well, we can check and make sure that the audio, the speakers are the right one. A lot of computers have multiple different types of audio output that it can do. Maybe it's the computer speakers, maybe it's a Bluetooth sound bar that we're connected to. We want to make sure that it's the right output that we want the audio to be coming out of, right? Maybe we don't want to use the speakers on the laptop. We want to make sure it's our headphones because we're in a coffee shop and we don't need the entire coffee shop listening to our Zoom talk. The audio settings right there, if we select those, we can choose. If you're using a headset, it's also important to make sure it's plugged in and selected in the settings. It's always a good idea to try unplugging it, plugging it all the way back in if you're having any issues. Sometimes resetting that connection like that can help quite a bit. You also want to make sure that your volume is up. I've definitely had some people on Zoom or even other video conferencing tools tell me, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't have any of your audio. And I'm looking through all my settings, making sure it's transmitting right. Check your device volume. If you have your volume all the way down, you're not going to be able to hear the audio, even if it is transmitting. You can check and see if the audio is muted in Zoom as well. We have little icons for that, right? Right now, if I go in and I mute my video, we'll see a little red icon appear right next to my name. Obviously, that didn't help many people there, but I wasn't saying anything too important, just making sure it was obvious that my sound wasn't coming through because I was muted. These days, especially on Zoom, it's good to have a really quick finger on that mute button, just because there's a lot of background noise happening in our lives, and it's become a digital courtesy to kind of make sure that we keep ourselves muted unless we're talking. Everyone in this meeting right here has been doing an amazing job of that, by the way. Like, great job on following internet social protocol. It's a good idea to test your audio. You can use the audio test feature to check your microphone and speakers. When you're in your settings there, it's an option to make sure that it shows you with a visual feedback that you are having audio go through. It's a little bar that spikes up and shows audio activity. You can use that to make sure it's picking up your microphone. You can You can just jump in there really quickly, and then you can message your friend and say, no, my microphone's working. You need to check your audio settings. Turn up your volume on your computer. It's not on my end. You'll want to check for background noise. If you're experiencing background noise or an echo, moving locations can always help, or using headsets with noise canceling features. Right now, it doesn't seem like that's a major issue in this call. For the most part, everyone's got just their voice, but it can be very distracting, right? If you've got a lot of background noise, finding a way to eliminate that noise, either through muting your audio or getting a headset and a piece of technology that automatically removes that extra noise for you, because headphones these days are amazing, that also works. And then finally, it's a good idea to update your audio drivers, make sure they're up to date. You can go to the manufacturer website for your computer, find drivers for your computer and install those. This is something that's a little bit more advanced. Working with drivers isn't something that every average person on the internet does. So that's a troubleshooting step that shouldn't be taken lightly. And honestly, I'd recommend, if you're wondering if you're having driver issues, that's a great time to give our phone number a call for a little bit of tech support, because we can absolutely work with you on that, help out, and make sure that we're getting the right files, installing the right things. One thing too to notice, drivers are specific to Mac and Windows computers. Chromebooks technically have drivers in the background. They're handled automatically, which is really nice. So for everyone using a Chromebook, not a concern. You don't need to worry about that. Now, audio is only half the issue there, right? We also have video. Video is a big part of Zoom. If your video is not working right, there's a couple of things we can try. Check your video settings. Make sure you have the right camera selected. In some cases, especially Paul, you're a videographer, you're a you do documents or documentaries. Like, I'm sure that you've probably run into a situation where you've had cameras hooked up to the computer that the computer might identify as a camera, but that's not the same as your webcam, and it might not give the same result. Make sure that we're choosing the right one in settings, especially if we have multiple cameras connected. We want to look at the device settings. Make sure that your camera is turned on and not blocked by settings or applications on your device. Other applications can steal your video. Did you know that? If I open up right now any other application that's wanting to use my video, like let's say Skype for a video call, right? Skype isn't going to be able to access my webcam because Zoom is using it. It's really important that we check for other software that might be stealing away our camera, because it's only one application at a time that gets to use it. Zoom's test features also extend to video. We can use the Zoom setting for test video to open up a preview of what our video is going to look like. That'll include any virtual backgrounds that we use. That'll include if we need to maybe like adjust the aspect ratio a little bit. It's a really easy way to really quickly check, how's my video looking? Maybe I need to get some more light in here, whatever we need. And then finally, it's a good idea to test your internet connection. Transmitting video over the internet does take a decent amount of bandwidth. If you're having trouble with your connections and you're having trouble with the audio or video disconnecting or it popping up and saying low bandwidth, try moving closer to your router. The closer you are to your router, the better signal that you're going to have, the better connection. If it's possible, maybe try connecting with a wired connection plugged directly into the computer instead of using wireless. It's not always possible, but if it is, it's a stronger connection that way. So that's a good way to troubleshoot, make sure that you have the best internet as possible. Really quickly, I did want to check in and see, are there questions about Zoom, specifically when it comes to video or audio, because I know that it can give a lot of people a lot of different issues. Oh.
Yeah, so if if you want to download a YouTube or a Vimeo clip, I've seen in the past that sometimes they have trouble showing them instead of having it directly from the camera.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, like sharing a YouTube or a Vimeo clip with other people over Zoom.
Yeah, if I wanted to take it would probably be formatted to show on YouTube or Vimeo if I had a private one down there.
The problem with that is, yes, you can technically share your screen and share your audio through Zoom and share a YouTube video, but there's a lot of compression and algorithms happening in the background that it can cause audio desyncs. The quality of the video definitely goes down because it needs to be processed and sent through Zoom servers.
Right.
It's generally a little bit more advisable if it's already in an online source like YouTube or Vimeo to share the link to that YouTube or Vimeo clip in Zoom and let the people pull it up on their own computer. That way they get to see it in the original quality, the highest quality possible, and we're not worried about any of the audio desyncs or loss of overall quality on the video.
Right, so you do that, you share the link through Zoom though, right? I mean,
yeah, you would share it in the chat function. So
okay, yes,
yeah.
right. So that's all right. And so the other thing is I bought a professional Zoom account, pays $14 because someone told me that, you only get so much time if you have a free account. Is that still the case? Or?
That is the case right now with a free Zoom account, which still, this is great value for no cost. You are limited to 30-minute meetings. Anything that goes longer than 30 minutes, the meeting is going to automatically shut down, and then you just need to start up a new one. And that can be pretty interrupting. The professional Zoom accounts, they allow like scheduling meetings, scheduling multiple meetings, having them go longer than an hour, automating the scheduling. There's a lot of really useful tools that come with a pro license on Zoom.
That's right. And so I don't know if you're going to address this now going to Zoom. I tried when I want to record, I just did this for the first time. I wanted to record an interview. If I click on record now, I have to ask the permission for the record. You're recording this anyways. When I do that, I saw that it started downloaded as an MP4 player. Where does it store that? How do I retrieve that?
Well, you'll have two options depending on the type of Zoom account that you have. It sounds like you have a personal professional Zoom account, in which case it would be saving it onto your computer, and then you would have the file that you could upload to YouTube or share directly with other people. In some cases, mainly on business accounts, but on some individual accounts as well, when you click the record button, it will give an option called record to cloud, and record to cloud will then save that into a cloud location accessible to anyone that has the link. So that's something that's really useful if you know that you're going to be sharing that with other people. But if it's a video that you know that you're going to want to work on and edit, saving it locally is probably the better option for you.
On my computer though?
Yes.
All right, so I didn't the first time. I have to go back and find it where it's on my hard drive on my computer, right?
Yes, that's correct. Generally speaking, it should show up in your downloads folder from Zoom.
Right. Okay,
so
I'll find it. I just found it the other day. Now, you're like, organizing your files is the biggest issue for me, anyways.
When you have 18 terabytes of video information, I can imagine.
Well, they're on drives and all that stuff, but I mean, even just doing Gmail, Google Docs, I've got stuff on it, I don't even remember having on it, and then I'm on external drives, and you don't want to upload, you don't want to keep all this stuff. Even on Google, you get so much storage space, to keep on sending, even to. All right, thank you very much. That's good.
You're very welcome. Also, I see that we've got Charlie Knight here. Hi, Charlie. How are you doing? Great to have you here. We are most of the way through, but I still want to encourage if you've got any questions about what we're going over. We also have a recording of the video that's available, so that's going to be available for review as well. We're just glad to have you here. It's exciting. Let's jump in and talk about a couple more Zoom features that I personally think are really exciting. Captions. Technology has caught up with us to the point now where we can take audio and generate automatic captions in real time. This is something that's super, super useful. In some situations, it may be difficult to hear the audio, especially like imagine that you're working at an internet cafe. There's a lot of chatter around you. You've got the baristas in the background making coffee. It might be hard to hear the meeting exactly. That's when we want to be enabling captions in Zoom. These are real-time captions from the audio that's happening. We can start a meeting or a webinar in Zoom, and then all we need to do is click on the closed caption button in the Zoom controls. We select the enable auto transcription option, and then it automatically starts transcribing everything that we're saying into a text format that shows up as captions or subtitles on the Zoom call for us. These are really, really useful, especially situationally. And I highly recommend using these because it's such an incredible tool. In fact, right now we can take a look at mine, and here we go. We're going to disable annotations for others. That's okay. There we go. It's a little more difficult while screen sharing. Captions are super useful in Zoom. Captions are also something that, if they're captured, allow us to do something neat, create a Zoom transcription. This here on the right is an example. It's got the names of the people talking. It's got transcriptions word by word of what everyone was saying. You can download this transcription as a text file. This is really, really useful, especially if you've been doing collaborative meetings with other people, and it allows you to go back, search the words, find things, find information that you need without needing to go through potentially hours of video, because you can use things like search and just Control F and look for the specific piece that you need. Really, really cool functionality. I really like the Zoom transcripts. Now, those were the last couple of things that I wanted to show off. I know that we've touched on so many different things, everything from Google Drive to Chromebooks to Zoom and troubleshooting. At this point, we have some time left. We wanted to leave this time in here because I wanted to see if anyone had questions or wanted specific examples. I can pull up Google Drive. We can show examples in Zoom.